postcard appeared on the internet. It was handmade, handwritten, sent anonymously, the way all the best confessions are. On it was a sketch, 2 towers on fire, and above the drawing, just one line. "Everyone who knew me before 9/11 believes I'm dead." The internet connected that postcard to a woman who had been missing for years. A doctor, a wife, a daughter, a painter. A woman who vanished from Lower Manhattan on the night of September 10th, 2001, the evening before the attacks, and has never been found. Not her body, not her jewelry, not a single confirmed sighting. Her name was Sneha Anne Philip, and 24 years later, not her husband, not the NYPD, not the courts, nobody can tell you with certainty what happened to her. She is the only person officially declared a victim of the September 11th attacks, for whom there is zero evidence she was ever near the World Trade Center. So, was she a victim of the worst terror attack in American history? Was she murdered, and 9/11 simply provided the perfect cover? Or, and this is the question that has never gone away, did she choose to vanish? By the end of this video, you'll have every fact that exists. The answer, though, that's still out there somewhere. Before we get to the night she vanished, you need to know who Sneha Philip was. Because in this case, the person is just as important as the mystery. Sneha Anne Philip was born on October 7th, 1969, in the Indian state of Kerala. Her father was a physician. Her mother was an academic. When Sneha was still young, the family moved to the United States, settling eventually in a small hamlet in Dutchess County, New York. It was a quiet life, comfortable, suburban. Sneha was never going to stay quiet. From childhood, she painted, she wrote, the kind of person who felt everything deeply and needed somewhere to put it. She graduated from Johns Hopkins University in 1991. In 1995, she enrolled at Chicago Medical School. It was there she met Ron Lieberman, a student from Los Angeles, 1 year behind her. He played music. She painted. They found each other the way creative people often do. Here is the thing about Sneha that matters. When the time came for Ron to graduate, 1 year after her, she made a decision that most people simply do not make. She took a year off, put her own degree on hold. She spent that year traveling through Italy, painting. Then she came back, and she waited for him. She wanted them to graduate together. Think about that. She delayed her own career, her own life, to stay in step with the man she loved. In 1999, they graduated together. They moved to New York for their residencies. In 2000, they married. Jewish and Indian traditions combined. They moved into an apartment in Battery Park City, Lower Manhattan. Their apartment was 0.3 miles from the North Tower of the World Trade Center, a 7-minute walk. September 10th, 2001, a Monday. Sneha was not working that day. Her cousin Anu was coming to dinner in 2 days. She had planned to spend the day cleaning the apartment, getting everything ready. At around 10 a.m., she and Ron had breakfast together. At 11, Ron left for work. Sneha rearranged flowers. She cleaned. Then, from 2 in the afternoon until 4, she spent 2 full hours in an online chat with her mother. Ordinary conversation, nights out, plans, life. She mentioned something in passing. A friend was planning a spring wedding. They were looking at a venue, a restaurant called Windows on the World, located on the 107th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Sneha mentioned she was planning to go check it out. She didn't say when. She didn't say tomorrow, just at some point. At 4 p.m., the chat ended. At approximately 5:15, Sneha left the apartment. She dropped some clothes at the dry cleaner. Then she walked to Century 21, a department store directly across the street from the World Trade Center, and used Ron's American Express card. Lingerie, a dress, pantyhose, bed linens, then 3 pairs of shoes from the annex next door, $550. At 7:18 p.m., the store's security camera recorded her. She was calm. She was carrying 2 large bags. And then she walked out of that store, and that is the last confirmed sighting of Sneha Anne Philip anywhere on Earth. The shopping bags were never found. The lingerie was never found. The shoes were never found. No one she knew ever saw her again. Where did she go? Ron came home that night around midnight. The apartment was empty. He wasn't alarmed, not immediately. Sneha had a pattern, one he had accepted, even if it sometimes frustrated him. She would stay overnight at a friend's, or her brother's, or her cousin Anu's, without always calling ahead. He went to bed. The next morning, September 11th, she still hadn't come home. He was irritated. They'd been over this. He got dressed. He left for work at around 6 a.m. At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Ron's irritation turned to terror. He called the apartment landline. No answer. He called again. No answer. He called Sneha's mother, her brother, everyone. Nobody had heard from her. At 9:59, the South Tower collapsed. At 10:28, the North Tower came down with it. The journey to their apartment that should have taken minutes took 6 hours. When he finally reached the building, the power was out. The electronic doors wouldn't open. He spent the night at a friend's. The following morning, he got inside. The windows had been left open. Everything was coated in the gray ash of 2 collapsed towers. On the floor, in the ash, there were only 2 sets of prints, his own shoes, and the small paw prints of their 2 cats. Sneha had never come home. Filing a missing persons report on September 12, 2001, in Lower Manhattan, in the middle of the largest disaster in American history, is almost impossible to imagine. Over 9,000 people reported missing in a single day. Every wall in the city covered in photographs. Every news channel broadcasting around the clock. Sneha's report was filed, and it was swallowed by the chaos. And so Sneha's brother John made a decision. He stepped in front of cameras, and he told a story. He said that on the morning of September 11th, Sneha had called him, that she was near the World Trade Center, that he had begged her, pleaded with her to run, that she had refused. She wanted to stay. She wanted to help the injured. It was a complete fabrication. The siblings hadn't spoken in 2 weeks. They had been fighting. There was no call. John later admitted this. He invented it to get his sister's face on television. The story worked. The media ran it everywhere. Sneha became the hero doctor who chose to stay behind. The NYPD immediately began searching for her remains at Ground Zero. And in doing so, they stopped looking for her anywhere else. If Sneha had walked away from her life that evening, John's lie gave her the most perfect cover story imaginable. If she had been harmed by someone, John's lie buried the real investigation before it ever properly began. Ron pulled the credit card records himself, traced her route, went to the store, put up flyers. Days later, a clerk called him back. She remembered Sneha. She was a regular, but she said something that stopped Ron cold. She said Sneha had not been alone that evening. There was another young woman with her, possibly Indian. She appeared to be a friend. Ron spent weeks tracking down the surveillance footage. He found Sneha in the coat department, but no other woman was clearly identifiable alongside her. Near the exit, possibly. Conclusively, no. That woman, whoever she was never identified, never came forward. She may be the last person who saw Sneha alive. With the NYPD consumed by Ground Zero, Ron hired a private investigator, Ken Gallant, a former FBI agent. Gallant found two things, two details that have never been fully explained. The first, on the night of September 10th, the night Ron says he slept alone in the apartment, a call was made from their home landline to Ron's cell phone at 4 in the morning. If Ron was alone in the apartment, who made that call? The second, Ken found CCTV footage from the lobby of their building. Timestamped, September 11th, 2001, 8:43 a.m. 3 minutes before the first plane hit. A woman enters the lobby. She walks to the elevator. She stops. She stands there, suspended, as if caught between two decisions. Then she turns and walks back out into the street. The footage is poor, strong sunlight flooding the lobby. She is visible only as a silhouette, but her hair, her dress, her build, all of it consistent with Sneha. She is carrying no shopping bags. Ron could not positively identify her. An NYPD investigator concluded it was Sneha. If it was her, what was she thinking? Standing at that elevator at 8:43 in the morning. What decision was she making? And where did she go when she walked back out into that street, 3 minutes before the world changed forever? Now we have to talk about the part of this case that makes it genuinely uncomfortable. At her first residency placement, Cabrini Medical Center, Sneha's contract was not renewed. The reasons cited? Tardiness, alcohol-related issues. At her next placement, St. Vincent's on Staten Island, she was suspended for missing meetings with a substance abuse counselor. On the morning of September 10th, the last day she was ever seen, she and Ron attended court together. During a night out with colleagues, she had alleged a male colleague groped her. She filed a complaint. The complaint was dismissed for lack of evidence, and then she was charged with filing a false report. She spent a night in jail. On September 10th, she pleaded not guilty. Witnesses reported a serious argument between Ron and Sneha on the courthouse steps afterward. Hours later, she was gone. Ron explained the bar visits directly. After the groping incident, Sneha was afraid of mixed-gender spaces. Gay bars felt safe. She made friends there, creative women, artists, and she told Ron about them openly. Here is what the 2008 appeals court concluded. The sources the NYPD used to build the double life narrative were found not to be credible. The court dismissed the claims of drug and alcohol abuse entirely. And there is one more detail, one that is rarely given the weight it deserves. When investigators checked the apartment, Sneha's passport was still there, her driver's license, every credit card, every document that would have let her start over somewhere else, left behind. All of it, still there. On January 31st, 2008, the New York State Appeals Court made its ruling. Sneha Anne Philip was officially declared a victim of the September 11th attacks. The judge acknowledged there was no proof. He said the most likely explanation is usually the true one. For Sneha to have faked her disappearance, abandoning her husband, her family, her entire life, while her own face covered the walls of New York City, was possible, but deeply implausible. For someone to have harmed her, and for no body, no evidence, no trace to surface after years of searching, was also possible, and also deeply unlikely. The simplest explanation: she was in the neighborhood. She was a doctor. The towers came down 3 minutes after she may have been standing in her own lobby, and she ran toward the suffering the way she was trained to. Sneha Anne Philip remains the only person on the September 11th memorial for whom there is no direct evidence of ever having been there. Her name is on panel S66 at the South Pool. Her family still hopes that somewhere in the unidentified remains, one of her diamond rings, her earrings, the small gold necklace she always wore, will eventually be matched to the photographs they gave to the city clerk. 24 years later, it hasn't happened. And then there is the postcard. Post Secret is a community art project. Anyone, anywhere can send a handmade postcard to a single address with a secret they have never told anyone. No name, no return address, just the confession and the post. At some point, the exact year is disputed, a particular postcard began circulating online. On it, a drawing, 2 towers, smoke rising, and one handwritten line. Everyone who knew me before 9/11 believes I'm dead. The internet immediately connected it to Sneha. Read it again, slowly. Not, I died on 9/11. Not, I was there. Everyone who knew me before 9/11 believes I'm dead. Present tense, watching, from somewhere. As if the person who wrote it knows exactly what the world thinks happened to them, and is quietly, privately, aware that the world is wrong. The postcard was never authenticated, never traced. No one came forward. It could be anyone. It could be a piece of art, a comment on grief, a hoax. Or it could be from a woman who spent a year painting in Italy while the man she loved finished his degree. A woman who walked out of a department store on the evening of September 10th, carrying 2 large bags of new things, lingerie, shoes, a dress, heading somewhere she never named. A woman who left behind her passport, her ID, her credit cards. A woman who stood at an elevator at 8:43 in the morning, 3 minutes before the world gave her the most complete disappearance in history, and made a decision. I don't know. Nobody knows. What I know is this: 24 years, no remains, no sighting, no trace. And somewhere out there, a handmade postcard sent anonymously from nowhere with 11 words on it.